Final question from me, and then we'll switch to, I see quite a few great questions have come in from attendees, so we'll get to those in just a sec. I just wanted to ask one question, a more general one around New Zealand bringing things back closer to home. So we've obviously started the year with some major and very traumatic weather events. We've also got the cost of living rising more steeply than we're used to in New Zealand. There are ongoing deaths from COVID, as we just spoke about, and also many other challenges facing us. Could you give your insights on what you think are the key risks and opportunities facing New Zealand as we go into 2023?
So I think what we need to be aware of, every citizen, is what is the risk environment out there, and what are then the opportunities to act on it. So if you're doing a sort of scan of the risk environment, there's the external risks, and there's the ones that are particular to our situation. Now, we have long had an awareness in New Zealand of the need to insure against adverse events. What used to be called the Earthquake and War Damages Commission, has a long history as a public, corporation which was there to back up for those who were insured. Because one of the tragedies is a lot of people still aren't insured, or because they felt they couldn't afford it, and they can't afford, obviously, to rebuild or replace either. So on our own risk environment, we're the shaky isles, we're going to experience increasingly difficult climate events, and let us see this year's climate events, from Cyclone Hale to the horrific Auckland rainstorms to now Cyclone Gabriel, as a window on the future. The head of the UN's World Meteorological Organization told me at least 5 years ago that even if everything that people promised to do at the Paris Climate Agreement talks was done, we would still face, up until around 2070, until the world's population stabilised. And needless to say, we're not on track to meet the aspirations of the Paris Agreement. So the weather will get worse. Let's register that, and we're going to have to mitigate around it. Much more work on spongy cities, which can absorb rainfall. Looking at, how we build back better, or do you keep building to make the same mistakes and have the same vulnerabilities? So climate is both an internal risk, but there's the external debate around that as well. We've got the spillover impacts of war and conflict, clearly, and that's played into the high cost of living. And the pandemic didn't help either, because it disrupted supply chains, which, we've had a lot of external shocks. So, I think we've also taken a lot of hits to our social cohesion as a community. We have this, ghastly phenomenon of the high level of hate among a minority of citizens, fueled by, the sort of supportive communities that those people find in social media. I should say in tweeting on issues like Jacinda's departure, and then Jacinda and Nicola Sturgeon's departure together, the hate that you get back is just extraordinary. Now, okay, for me, water off a duck's back. People will be blocked, and they can scream in cybersphere as much as they like. But I use social media for constructive debate and not for allowing haters to parade on platforms. But the level to which people are, frankly, just misinformed and so polarised, I find extremely disturbing. And I think we need to go back to that quote anti-social media report that Kathy led work on as our founding director of the foundation, and look at the recommendations there about how to have some form of bespoke regulation. We accept it for print media, we accept it for broadcast media, but it's gangland on social media. Let's remember also that Jacinda led the way with the Christchurch Call, which was an international effort, which I understand she'll continue to do some work on, again around how we can try to have some breaks at least on online hate. So a lot of challenges out there, but be aware of the bigger risk environment is my advice, and support policymakers to focus on these big overarching questions: where we're going to need to invest, how we need to invest, and how we build our resilience to shock.